So, your character, Aurora. It was a character that I loved, and it was a character that I hated.
And loved to hate?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
How was that like playing a character like that?
I thought it was incredibly interesting.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the time you are boxed into you were the good guy or the bad guy. You're the main person that everyone loves, or you're the conflict driver on the side. And I thought it was a very interesting and very smart choice by the writers to bring in a character like Aurora that... and I think is something that they really like to do on the originals, which is there is no quintessentially good or bad person. There are just people, essentially. Yeah. I always laugh about it. I'm like, they're telling the story of humanity, that everyone's from a context and different and see things from their perspective, and no one is fully good or fully bad. We're all just human, and it's just ironic that they are not. They are the undead. But it's a very human story about undead people. So what I loved about Aurora... was essentially that she made a lot of dumb maniacal decisions, but they told her backstory, which is such a beautiful gift to an actor for me to even, first of all, know my backstory, second of all, to have been able to live it, even just through Ep 5, and then we had a couple of flashes through different episodes. But it informed me so much, and it gave so much more power to the performance and power to the drive of the love and the hate between Aurora and Klaus, but also her connection with her brother. And I had such a strong point of view to every single character. Like, there was no water under the bridge between anyone. Like, everything was still so alive and so strong. So I think that's what made her so alive and so lovable. And also, like, she's the bipolar, 1,000-year-old bipolar vampire. Like, there are just no boundaries. There's no boundaries as a violin, as a vampire. Wow, dyslexia. There's no boundaries as a vampire as it is. But when you add 1,000 years of suffering from bipolar on top of that, and her, various issues, it made her boundless for me, and thank God for the writers allowing me to do that. And for the directors at the time, they would kind of push me in a direction of like her being a little crazy. But then I was allowed to be so alive in the scenes that she would. And instinctively it was great because, some scenes I'd be laughing where I should cry instead. Or the other great thing was in all her flashbacks, you see the innocent, human, beautiful, young, tortured victim Aurora, who has got so much power and love to give, but is like tortured by her life circumstances so much greater than her. So I think when I got to bring that element of her into the maniacal, crazy, blood mongering, killing vampire crazo that she was, there are moments where like I get something that I like, very childlike and very like she was playing a game. Yeah. So I would get the thing that I needed for this part of my plot, and I would like giggle and clap. Yes, I got it. And it's, you don't often get to see characters like that. They can very often be like, kind of predictably boring, or they have to be sensible, or they have to like be in a box of what that caricature is. But Aurora didn't have any of that. She was just like, let's go for it. Let's be crazy. And, so that was really, really fun. And I think that's, and I didn't want to just play a character that's like, oh, typical, it's the villain to the Michelson, so we're all going to hate her because she's the villain, plotting forward the Michelson story. But it was like, you actually, and that's essentially what she was, but because of the way I got to play her, and because of the kind of youth and silliness and unpredictability and the finding the pleasure in the game of it all, I think it drew. I don't think people were supposed to like her as much as they did, even
one of my favorite characters.
Yeah, because she's so fun. Yeah, and I don't think it was necessarily I think she was meant to be this like seductress. At first when they wrote her, I think she was meant to be a bit more like, I'm plotting things and I am sexy. And, but as we played with her more, this childlike fun really came out, which really evened out her character, and I think made her very interesting to watch and very interesting for me to play, and drew people more so than I think anyone expected into the like, I want to hate her, and I know I should be hating her, and I know instinctively that she's a character that I shouldn't like. She's killing the people that I've followed for the last 2 seasons, or trying at least. Didn't quite get there. But I can't help it. Like, I love her, but I hate her for doing this. And how, especially when you have a ship, if you're really into like Camille or... Yeah.
I was rooting for you to kill her.
Oh, really? You, Aurora.
Do it.
Aurora.
And then, no.
We had about a five minutes on screen of like nice stuff together, but I was rooting for it too because I was like, I totally believe it, and of course I have to because I'm telling the story. I'm the, I have to justify it. I'm the actress, but I totally got it. I was like, that love of your life that you find when you're young and you just never get over it, and she could just never move on from the experience she had with him, and I think they really did get each other, and I just think there was just so much crap that went down. But I don't know, if the writers wanted to go that way, I could have seen totally how they could have redeemed it, sorted it out, gone, dude, water under the bridge. Your brother did that? No way. My brother did this. What? Total misunderstanding. Let's go to dinner. You look cute. It could have gone that way. I understand why they couldn't, but that's what I liked. You could believe it happening, and that made it real because you were on the edge of your seat going, can she shoot him? Can she actually bring herself to kill him in this moment? And inevitably she never could, so it was like, oh, and they do love each other, and so it was a really, I don't know, I thought it was a really powerful story, but yeah.
Would you say that her greatest desire is to be loved, and that in a way people might relate to her easily because of that?
Yeah, definitely. I think she's a maniacal 1,000-year-old bipolar vampire, sure. But I think that's what I was saying before about the humanity in the undead of these characters, is that when you tell her backstory, you're like, oh, I totally get why that hurt you so much, or we are trying to get revenge, or why you and your brother would plot this. Like, you understand the why. And I think when you look back to her story of her mum dying in childbirth, and just, that you would always blame yourself. You would always have that, it's my fault. And that's something, anyone in a near situation that, like, you need therapy, like you need some serious, like, let's talk through this. But in the 980 AD, that didn't exist. You just left to your own devices.
So getting locked in a room with a bunch of monks didn't really help.
No. Well, I worked on my swordsmanship. That was great. That was brutal. She was brutal. But yeah, I think definitely at the end of the day, it was a really human story about someone who did just want to be loved, and someone who felt so much guilt and pain from the day she was born, and her father resented her because her mother died giving birth to her, and she always just felt like she was this burden on the world. So of course that would bleed into your belief about yourself as a person, and when you've gone through all that, and then there's this powerful guy that sees you and loves you and gets you, and you see each other, you get each other. And you finally feel like you found somewhere where you belong, or you're understood. And especially that big scene where she's like, dude, we're as messed up as each other. Like, I get you. You tried to kill your mom? No way. I did. Yeah. Like, I'm laughing. I shouldn't. But clearly I've been in this character too long. I'm going a bit crazy. But when they have that moment together where they, like, just go, oh, dude, I get it. And I get you, and I've found a home in you. I think that was the most free from her burden of guilt and pain that she'd felt her whole life. And so, of course, she would associate that with him forever, and, always have that dream of being with him because he got it. He was as crazy as her. And I think there's a real beauty in that. And there's that Dr. Seuss quote. It's like, I've forgotten exactly what it is, but when you find the person who matches your crazy, it's like you found the one. I get your crazy, you get my crazy. I think they had that. So, yeah.
So what's been the highlight for you for both your character in the show and for you as an actress of being part of it?
I think the boundlessness of Aurora, the playfulness of Aurora, because I've played a lot of people who are like me, like, oh, the teenage surfy girl, the teenage kind of surfy girl. I played like 3 surf jobs in a row, and they were all amazing. But to get a character that was a caricature, and I've always loved that since a kid. Like, I always wanted to play big characters. Whenever it was like drama class or stuff as a kid, I'd always hop into someone else's skin and go for it. So I think that was my favorite thing about getting to do this show, because it was like, ooh, I get to create this whole person, this whole world, and I am not her. Like, and especially for me as an actress, it was really challenging because she's a really overtly seductive person, and I'm not. I'm just a bit British. I've been brought up in I've got very English parents, and you don't do that. you know, I'm a good pure girl, la la la, you know. So to have to really push that part of myself and have to really seduce a guy on set with all these 50 other men around on the crew, like that was really terrifying for me, but and a real challenge. So doing like that level of sexuality, but with that level of like anger as well. I don't really do anger. It's like these really extreme parts of desire and passion that I haven't really been able to explore before, because I've been playing very human characters. But when you go to this next level and then you bring all those elements into it, it was a real push for me, you know. And there were some days on set where I remember I had to, like, you know, tell him, don't you remember the times where we would kiss and blah, blah, blah. And I really struggled with it because I had to overcome my own barriers to say that stuff out loud, to really seduce someone. So, and to really want to kill someone. Like, obviously I've never, well, maybe not, I've never had that desire before, for the record. You know, so to have to explore those parts of yourself and go to be that furious at someone, to be that hurt by someone, and to be that deranged and that unhinged, that you would consider that you would plot it, that you go to those extents. So and then within the boundlessness of her sexuality and the passion and the love and the hate, and then on top of that to add the, like, I'm mid-fight scene and I'm giggling because it was like, ooh, that tickles, that was fun, you know, like, oh, you punched me in the face and you, well done, Hayley, like, that was great, you know. Or like she gets the little piece of thing and she's like, ew, like this childlikeness coming out. So she was just so, this world of anything can happen. So it was really exciting for me to go to set and to do that, but also really challenging because I had to do stuff that I was like, oh, this is a push for me, which is great because you grow, and like with every role that you do, you hope that you go like, oh, I'm bigger. I'm like, you're like a sphere, like it's like blowing up a balloon, and your capacity grows and grows and grows, you know. So I feel like that definitely happened with the originals. Was that the question? Yes. About? Okay, yeah. And the set was great too, just on a more like practical logistical level. Like I had to get my fangs molded and learning how to figure out the fang bite and how to head back and sucking on the blood pre-scene, but then, and it's all made out of this sugar stuff. And so we'd be doing these scenes of like feeding or whatever, and then you feel your heart rate go up and you'd be getting the jitters and you're like, what is wrong with me? Oh, I just have like ingested all this sugar through this blood, and the only way to get it off afterward is like, because it stains you, is with shaving cream. So after these scenes, like, you know, there were a couple of very sad scenes with Aurora where she'd like, you know, hurt herself and stuff, and I have blood everywhere, and you're just sitting there with shaving cream, just like lathering yourself up after these scenes. And the stunts and the rigging was really amazing. Getting to do like actual fight scenes was amazing, like especially the one I did with Riley and Phoebe. I think it was at 7. I'm in a pair of heels and this crazy dress and this crazy wig on, and you know, we really had to go at it, and it was fierce. And my poor stunty in these, like, she is not used to fighting in heels. So like the practicalities of, you know, that what a high concept show demands was like a baptism of fire for me as well. Because I was like, whoa, okay, that, you know, all this blood, and how do I wrangle that? And is it on my eye? And like mid-take, and you got blood in your hair. And then there was this one where they had to like throw, where Klaus like frisbeed a sign into my side. And so they had to like make this huge rig, this like huge latex thing, so it could like look like it went in, and then I could like pull it out, and I had this weird suit on. Like that stuff was really cool as well, going like, oh, this is a whole nother world that I hadn't played in yet. So that was really fun. And especially when you dress up, I think putting on a wig and like I am a like the stuff she would wear. And and you put fangs in, it's like, I am not me anymore. You're like transported into this person, and it's this really fun ritual for me. I had a similar thing. I was on a show called Home and Away, and I had this like, I played this character called Ruby, and she always wore this like feather in her hair, and it was like the thing. It's like when I put the feather in, I'm Ruby, and when I get it out, it's like I'm back to me. So I got to have that with the wig and the craziness. So I take off the wig and I'm like, oh. Whew, okay, the craziness is marginally subsided. Now I'm just normal me crazy, you know. Yeah, that was cool. It's all right.
What was your favourite episode to shoot?
Well, I loved the flashback stuff, 5, but I think at that point, Joe and I really still getting to know each other. I'd only had like end of ep teaser, then boom, whole episode. So if I got to shoot episode 5 with the rapport that I'd built on set and the confidence I built on set, maybe at like 12, that episode I would have loved to do it again then, but I was still really happy where it was. It was part of the progression, you know. But I also really loved the Thanksgiving dinner was just hysterical with all the boys, because we were just like we were just laughing the whole time. That was great. But in terms of the work that I did, I think some of my favorite stuff was actually Ep 18, like the last scene where I've got him chained up, and I'm just like, I did really get to have that, like, I actually, even if she's deluding herself, which I think she was a bit, because when she finally got syringed, you couldn't see it very well because it was an awkward angle, but I really had this moment of me looking at him going, oh no, this is, as she knew she was, you know, getting put under some spell, she still had to look at him and be like, you know, and the pain of that. But I think at 18, she really got to have this, like, what have I been doing this whole time? Who even are you? Like that Beyonce moment of like, I'm sorry, what? You did what to me? And I'm what? No, stuff you. Like, who do you think you are? And you these like failed seductions. Like, it's actually comical to me. So it was really empowering because I'd spent an entire show being under his spell no matter what, despite myself. And then this final episode, it was like this full freedom of like, oh, no, not anymore. I'm done. And she got to like kind of, you know, get the power back a bit and be a bit more empowered in herself and not be under his spell. But I truly think that it was a bit of a self-delusion. I think when push comes to shove, she would still want to be with him.
What's next
you know.
for you now?
I shot a pilot called Miranda's Rights, which is being shopped around a bit. So hopefully that comes to something. But that was an awesome experience. That was totally different. That was like a lawyer thinks vampire lawyer, very different. That was great, and that was a drama. I love comedy as well, so I'm going to be looking out for that kind of stuff. I have an Aussie film I might do, so music stuff, that'd be fun. So yeah, I think it's just, and I don't actually even know what's going to happen for season 4, so I don't think they know what's happening in season 4. They're sitting around tables and plotting now. So I guess anything is possible. So we're just kind of seing where everything lands.
What would you like to see happen with season 4 if you could have anything happen?
Anything? I'm such a romantic. Like I want to get the guy, you know, or the guy, you know, I would love to have at least just one episode of like, for me personally, for my character personally, I would like to have Aurora and Klaus to be like, water under the bridge, baby. Like, I get it. Let's go to dinner and like enjoy each other's company. Because there were a couple of scenes like where he's taking her around the city, and it was really, and they went to dinner, and I don't know, they just kind of got each other. I really enjoyed that stuff, and they could laugh together. Like Klaus doesn't laugh a lot, you know. So I liked that she brought that out of him. At least a smirk, at least a Joe smirk. That was it's a luxury. It's good. But in terms of the show as a whole, I think they've really shaken things up with the characters. They've, you know, done a huge turnover. So I would like to see them really focus on the immediate family unit. I don't know. It'd be cool if Rebecca came back for a bit more, a couple more episodes. I like her popping in and out, and Nathaniel as well, and Casper. He's really cool. Yeah, I just want them, I would love them to just keep bringing in, because they have 1,000 years of untold story. So I really love stuff like the Strix, like Elijah being a part of that and this club. And I think that's really cool, just uncovering like this thing that happened in 1,500. And I don't know, I think, and more crossovers with the Vampire Diaries. I think that was cool how they were doing that. Yeah. You know, I think the fans love that kind of stuff, and it adds a level of legitimacy to the whole thing, and really solidifies it, and makes the world really, I don't know, even more real. So yeah, I think they should keep. I think they did. In fact, I personally, it's a little bit of bias, but I do think that season 3 was my favorite. You know, it was just so dynamic. You know, and it still had all the family stuff in there, but there was a lot of interesting levels going on. So I think they're on a really good trajectory, you know, to season 4. Yeah.